right, beautiful Wednesday morning transmission on Prestige Radio 91.7 FM right here in Mina, Niger State. You're very much welcome to Wednesday edition of the program Nigeria Today. My name is Maimuna Muhammad Babangida, and I have my co-presenter and analyst at the same time talking about Dr. Muhammad Entala Aliyu. And together, as usual, we'll be discussing on another trending issue. And this time on, we'll be taking a look at the much talked about report that was submitted to the past administration in order to rejuvenate the government and, of course, bring a kind of progressive attitudes in governance in Nigeria, which the past administration did set up that Orosanya committee, and they did a holistic look at the whole of administrative process of Nigeria and came out with their best findings. A white paper was released, and unfortunately the past administration wasn't able to really give that report a kind of attention it deserves. And current President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has really made it mandatory now to really implement that particular white paper on Orosanya, which really look at some of the pending issues affecting Nigeria, such as mergers of some ministries, scrapping of some, and of course creating new ones in order to cut the cost of running of governments. So we'll be taking a look at what will become the fit, or how will it really make Nigeria to come out of the current situation that we are facing, and what does it entail to the administrative process in the country. So this is our focus this beautiful Wednesday morning in the program Nigeria Today. You can be part of the program by calling through the number 09038808883, or you can post your comments on our Facebook page, Prestige FM Mina, and we are streaming live on our Facebook page, Prestigefm91.7mx, and on YouTube, Prestigefm91.7mx, and on radio app at prestigefmradio.org.ng. All right, Dr. Muhammad Entala Aliyu, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, and good morning, our listeners.
Okay, I think about a year or thereabout, we did discuss on this Orosanya report, a committee that was set up by the past administration to holistically look at the level of administration in Nigeria. Let's kind of review into what does even that particular committee entails. What prompted the past administration to set up that particular committee?
Yes, the Orosanya committee came when the government of Muhammadu Buhari expressed so much concern over the cost of running governance in Nigeria, and then the size of the federal civil service. At the time, the government felt that the size of the federal civil service is so massive, and hence the need to consolidate the civil service in such a way that some ministries will be scrapped while some will be merged together, so as to make ease of running governance in Nigeria. Hence, the need to look holistically at the size of civil service and its nature and the peculiarity of Nigeria as well. And therefore, the Orosanya committee was set up to look at all of this, and they came out with a report. They came out with a report that truly, to the best of their ability, that was what they felt should be done. But again, it didn't go down well with the government that set up that committee. And many cabinet members kick against the report of the Orosanya committee. And that report was simply kept on the shelf and continued to collect dust. Thank God, Tinubu came at a very tough time when the country is in dire need of finding ways and of getting out of the current situation. Hence, it thought it wise the need to revisit the Orosanya report. And of course, after revisiting it severally, the government concluded that there is the need to implement the Orosanya report with a view to downsizing the size of government, and of course to consolidate some parastatals and ministries so as to make it much more easier to run governance. Because many of the parastatals, many of the departments appear to be duplicating functions, near duplicating functions, and hence it will not be out of place if they are merged together so that one can be a department under the other.
Okay.
And that was how the Orosanya committee recommended that all those parastatals and agencies that are running near the same functions should be merged together. You can imagine the size of the federal government now. When you look at departments, agencies, and parastatals, they run to about 450. Now, 450 is a huge size, and the government is feeling the heat to continue to fund the activities of all of these parastatals and agencies. And that was why it felt that there is a need to downsize, not downsizing workers, but to cut them into places so that those that will have to go should go, and then the staff will be redeployed to other ministries, and then those that will be merged together so as to make it much more easier to run governance.
Okay, you have already made that point, the issue of not sacking some workers as a result of the merger, because I know that most people have expressed their mixed feelings on this Orosanya report, thinking that they are going to lose their jobs.
No, nobody will be losing his job.
Okay.
Except those who are due for retirement, of course, will have to go. And anybody who is already employed will keep his employment and status, and nobody stands the risk of being sacked.
Okay.
Those who belong to the agencies that will be scrapped will be redeployed to other ministries where they will continue with their services. And those that will have to be merged, they will be merged and then put under one umbrella. You can see that the National Action Committee on AIDS, for example, will be merged with the National Center for Disease Control. You can see that nobody from NACA will be sacked, but rather they will be merged together so that they can perform under the same umbrella. The same way with other ministries that will be merged together so that they can work together. So in all of this, we expect to see a much more robust federal civil service that can hold its own and perform optimally. Many times, it is the result of constitution that have brought about the establishment of many of these agencies and parastatals. Most of the times when there is a constitutional review and when certain aspects of the constitution come under scrutiny, you see it will necessitate the establishment of an agency, not looking at the fact that there is already an agency that is performing a near function of the issue that was being discussed on the floor of the National Assembly. And once the agency is being established, only for the government to realize that it is performing a near function with an existing agencies. So I believe that all those things will be put in place and will be taken care of. And in as much as we continue to look at the Constitution, before we establish an agency or a parastatal, we'll continue to see more and more agencies coming up. Even as mergers and scrappings will be taking place now, in the nearest future, again, some issues will come up in the National Assembly, and instead of looking at a parastatal that is performing a near function, we will begin to see the agitation for the establishment of an agency or a parastatal. And that is how it will go on, because another government will come with a different idea. So in as much as we continue to have constitutional review and certain constitutional consideration without looking at the existing agencies and parastatals, that is how we will continue to see more agencies coming up again, even as these ones are being scrapped. And that is one beautiful thing about even the British government, for example. It has no constitution, and it has been there for over 300 years with no constitution, only the Magna Carta. And they've been ruling the country and nothing has happened. Agencies are not created, agencies are not scrapped, and yet governance keep going and services are being delivered. So there are times when you just have to look at what you have on ground and then look at what you are looking for at the moment. So most of the times, trending issues are usually what brought about the establishment of agencies. But I believe that with this Orosanya report and the scrapping of some agencies, as well as merger of some agencies, subsequent considerations will consider existing agencies and parastatals before we think of establishing new ones. Because any agency or parastatal that is performing a near function, it means that there is no need to establish a new one. Only that it should be saddled with that responsibility. It should be given the task to carry out that new action that is required. And we'll continue to move on.
Okay, apart from that, you talked about some agencies that might be merged with others, and the transition of workers from one ministry to another, which will really affect the running of government. Does that mean that there will be reduction in the number of ministers that we have with the merger?
No, it will not reduce the number of ministers, because ministers
and ministries also.
Ministers and ministries are representing. Ministers are representing ministries, and agencies and parastatals are under ministries, and they are departments in ministries. So when we have mergers, it will only mean that a certain ministry will have the number of agencies under its control brought to a minimal number. For example, a ministry can have up to about 8 to 14 agencies and parastatals. And when there are mergers and scrappings, it will mean the number of agencies will have been reduced. So that is the only thing that will happen. But otherwise, no ministry. I don't think there is going to be a reduction in the number of ministries, because a ministry cannot have all of its agencies entirely wiped out. But again, certain ministries definitely will have reduction in the number of agencies that they control.
Cost of governance, this merger, and of course scrapping. But someone say it is not just focusing on the civil servants or the structure of government, but how those in authority supposed to cut down the cost of governance instead of focusing on the civil servant, which it seems like they are the ones always getting the hits.
No, this will not cut the cost of governance so much, but it will only ease the way of running governance. That is, in my opinion, how I look at it, because whatever cost you are spending in running those agencies is still the same cost that you will spend in running them when they go under some other agencies, or when they are merged with some other agencies. And of course, you know, since the number of ministries will not be reduced, and the number of ministers will not reduce too, definitely it will not cut the cost of running governance, but it will only add value to the way of running an effective system. The system will get improved, and there will be it will be run faster and more efficiently again, and more smoother, and things will be done much more easier, because instead of running from pillar to post to reach certain officials, most of those officials will be domiciled in one ministry or in one agency, and hence it will not be of much stress to actually trace all of that. For example, in Nigeria now, we have nearly more than 60 ministers. And if you have more than 60 ministers, and this number of ministers are not reducing, definitely, of course, you know, but you are not cutting any cost of running governance. It is only when you have reduction in the number of ministries. If you go to Britain, for example, how many ministries do they have? If you go to America, how many ministries do they have? Many of the ministries are just the key vital ministries that you will see in the American government and even in the British government. But in Nigeria, every aspect of the economy want to be represented on the cabinet, and that has always been a major issue with us. You can see that when President Muhammadu Buhari decided to combine the Ministry of Works, Housing, and is it infrastructure? Ministry of Works, Housing. No, Ministry of Works and Housing. He combined the two. There was an uproar in the country, and he also combined the Ministry of Youth and Sports then, and there was an uproar too. A lot of people felt that there is a need to separate the two ministries. What is the point of separating the Ministry of Youth and Sport? Because sport is something that has to do with the youth. So all I feel, there should be a department of youth and a department of sports, and under one ministry, and that will help in running the ministry much more easier. But today you have Ministry of Youth and Culture, Youth Development, and then you have Ministry of Sport, and then you have Ministry of Works, and then you have Ministry of is it Housing or thereabout, and then you have Ministry of Transport separately again, and you know, then you have Ministry of
Aviation,
Ministry of Education separately from Ministry of Science and Technology or something like that.
We also have that of aviation
And that of aviation,
transportation.
That of aviation and transportation. Instead of merging them together, they are
separately.
separately. So I'm not foreseeing any reduction in the cost of running governance, but only that it will reduce the stress of running governance. It will add to the efficient day-to-day running of governance.
Okay, let's look at the issue that has to do with the professional bodies and councils, which the government is partly funding some of them. And in the reports, it is recommended that there should be auditing of almost 89 agencies, and of course, discontinuation of government funding of professional bodies and councils.
Yes, I agree with that, because professional bodies are supposed to be run professionally by members. Their sources of income are supposed to be sourced by the members. You cannot be running a professional body while the government is funding the body partially again. For example, when you look at the Nigerian Medical Association,
the Nigerian Bar Association,
the Nigerian Bar Association, the Nigerian Council of Engineers, you know, all of these are professional bodies, and they are being run, they are being financed partly by the government and then partly by members. So if you have such kind of bodies that the government is intervening, that will also add to the cost of running governance. Since they are professional bodies, they should be run professionally, and they should be funded by the members. That way, the government will have reduced the burden on it by the professional bodies. And of course, the auditing of the accounts of those professional bodies must also be very efficient, because part of the rule is that every professional body must submit its account for auditing in the last 12 months. And any professional body that failed to do that in 3 years, of course, will have its license prescribed. And of course, you know what happened to the ASU, the Association of Academic Staff of Universities. You know, they had their account not audited for about 5 years. And when they went to the table of negotiation, then with the former Minister of Labour, it was what he used against them. And of course, ideally, in a much more senior climb, of course, the license of ASU should have been cancelled at the time, because that was a very serious offense of not auditing the account. So most of the professional bodies must submit their accounts for auditing every 12 months. And once it is being audited, then you continue with the next financial year, because the government is also funding, either directly or indirectly. Many of the professional members are salary earners. They are being paid by the government, and it is from what they are being paid that the government also is that the government is also taken to actually fund most of those associations. So I am also of the view that government should wash its hands off the professional bodies and allow them to be run by the professionals themselves and be funded by the professionals themselves. Because if government is already taking the steps of privatizing many government agencies, I see no reason why the professional bodies should continue to remain under the funding of the government. As it is now, we have privatizations in the power sector, we have privatization in so many other sectors, and there's the need for government to also wash its hands away from professional bodies, so that government should not be seen to be interfering with their activities. Let those bodies be run professionally, be funded professionally, and their sources of funding be clear to the public, so that when they come to audit, they know where their sources of funding are coming from, and they know what they are spending and how they are utilizing their fundings.
Okay, another recommendation coming from the Orosanya report has it that the committee believes that NTA, FRCN, and VON should be under one management. Apart from taking a look at the educational sector, the educational ministry, talking about the Universal Basic Education Commission, Nomadic Education Commission, and National Mass Literacy Commission, saying that they are performing on the overlapping functions.
Yes, let me start first with the media, which is part of our family. The Voice of Nigeria, the Federal
Radio Corporation of Nigeria, and
the Nigerian Television Authority. Yes, initially all of them were under the Ministry of Information. Initially, they were all under the Ministry of Information. They were simply departments under the Ministry of Information until when I think it was the government of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida that gave them the status of autonomy. But still they are under the supervision of the Ministry of Information. So they all have their DGs. So you can see that even now they are under the supervision of the Ministry of Information, but they have their separate DGs. And what the Orosanya report is simply saying is that they should be merged together under one DG, and then they can have heads of departments. Maybe a director in the NTA, a director in Voice of Nigeria, and director in the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. But again, all of these are performing separate functions. If you look at the NTA, for example, in the early days of the NTA and up to the 1990s and early 2000s, it was the main image maker of the Nigerian government on television. Anything concerning government policies, government activities, that is where you run to and get genuine information. In the years before the privatization in the media sector, it was the NTA that used to be the main focus for Nigerians anytime they are looking for genuine information. If anything happened nationally, everybody turned to the NTA, especially the 9 o'clock network news. And then the Federal Radio Corporation too. All of them were under the supervision of the Federal Ministry of Information. And then the Voice of Nigeria came. The idea behind establishing the Voice of Nigeria is for it to serve as an image maker of Nigeria at the international stage. The Voice of Nigeria is supposed to be the first port of call for anybody outside the shores of Nigeria who want to have information about Nigeria. So the Voice of Nigeria was there just like the BBC, the Voice of America, the Deutsche Welle in Germany, and then the Radio France International, as well as the China Radio. So it's the same function that the Voice of Nigeria is playing. And that is why you see the Voice of Nigeria is being broadcast in several international languages, from Swahili to French and to Arabic, and then now they are even thinking of going to start broadcasting in Mandarin and some other international languages. So these are basically their functions. And what he is simply saying is that they can have just one director. One director, a director in VON, and then a director in Federal Radio Corporation, a director in the NTA, and then they will have a director general that all of them will be answerable to. And then the director general himself will be answerable to the overall minister. Of course, it's still part of the ease of doing things because it makes it much more easier. And the DG who will oversee the activities of all of this can call them together at every point in time to brainstorm about certain things and the way forward before some of those things can even go to the table of the minister. So you realize that it will ease the way of running all of these agencies. But again, it may not actually cut the cost of running them, because the cost of running them will still remain the same, even if they are being merged together. But the only advantage there will be easy way of running some of these things. Now, in respect of the Ministry of Education, already you have the Department of Secondary School Education. I've forgotten the acronym, the something now, under the Ministry of Education. And you will have the Test and Measurement Department, and then you will have some other departments under the Ministry of Education. Yes, agreed, all of them should be merged together. and even JAMB too, and all other examination bodies can be brought under the Ministry of Education, so that if you have the executive secretary in JAMB, you have the executive secretary in NECO, and then in WAEC again, all of them, when merged together, they can simply serve as secretaries, or rather directors under those parastatals of the Ministry of Education, and you can have an overseeing minister. It's all about easing the way of running all of them.
Okay.
And many people who appear to be benefiting from the current situation may not be happy with some of this submission, because they will feel that their powers, their influence will be limited again, because they may not have the prerogative power of deciding just like the way they are doing now. They will feel that they have to be answerable to someone else, and that will not go down well with them. But again, that is the best thing to do, because when you have a bogus government, it becomes very cumbersome and very difficult to run.
Okay, let's look at the security aspect. The report also really talked about the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, an independent
the ICPC,
Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, and the Federal Road Safety Commission.
Yes, coming together, because these are intelligent gathering agencies, and the ICPC and the EFCC are simply financial crime commissions. One has to do directly with committing financial crimes, and the other one too has to do with basically civil servants who committed financial crimes, especially in the area of distorting records of either their history of appointment or their asset declarations and all of that. So they can be matched together and be separated into departments. You can have departments of the EFCC and then department of ICPC, just instead of them being together now. And you have also the Federal Road Safety Corps being also merged, is it with the Nigerian police?
That's what it is.
Yeah, being merged with the Nigerian police.
Even civil defense.
And then the civil defense. You know, prior to the coming of the Federal Road Safety Corps and the Civil Defense Corps, it was the Nigerian police that performed all of their functions. They issue out, they have their motor traffic division. Under that motor traffic division, they issue out driver's license. They take care of motor traffic matters and so many other issues that have to do with motor traffic, just as the Road Safety Corps is doing. They have their, also they have their vehicle maintenance department. That is the function now that is being carried out by the VIO, and so many other things that have to do with road regulations and all of that. And then the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps is also performing the functions that were carried out by the Nigerian police in the past. These have to do with civil crimes in our society, ranging from issues of rape, from kidnapping, vandalization of public utilities and all of that. Initially it was the police that handled most of these matters, and then the Civil Defense Corps was established and they took over this. The idea, of course, at the time was that the Nigerian police has its hands full with so many things that they are doing, hence there's the need to relieve them of some of these functions so that they can concentrate on certain functions and they will be more efficient. But at the time, what was not considered was that the Nigerian police have already shown signs of having inadequate number of staff. This inadequate number of staff is what have opened up that lacuna that made the Nigerian government then to believe that they are becoming too inefficient because of too many activities. When you go to Senate claims, when you go to the United States of America, for example, if you go to Britain, then the British police and the American police still perform all these duties. All they had is the departments. They have their departments. They have the federal police, they have the state police, and then they have so many other departments within the police that carry out many of these functions. The homicide squad department, the crime department, all other departments that the Nigerian police have can do most of these functions. All the government need to do is to embark on massive recruitment. When you have adequate number of personnel, the Nigerian police can perform all of these functions. With adequate number of personnel and sustained training and retraining of those personnel, I'm sure they can do all of these functions. It is not about being fatigued. It is not about having too many activities on their laps. It is about inadequacies and number of staff. And that was what happened. Because the Nigerian police have shown sign of this inadequate number of personnel long before now. For over 30 years, not now. For over 30 years, the Nigerian police as an organization have shown these signs of not having enough number of personnel. And that time, nobody had thought it wise that it is this inadequate number of personnel that is creating this lacuna that made the government of the day at the time to establish most of these agencies. Otherwise, the agencies shouldn't have come in the first place. If you look at the Federal Road Safety Corps, for example, that came around 1987 or thereabout, and then the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps that was there as a volunteer organization before it was adopted by the government. Many of these agencies, many of these volunteer organizations like the Nigerian Defense Corps wouldn't have even come if the Nigerian police had been so efficient then. But because of the inadequate number of personnel, that was why the government at the time felt there's the need to actually bring in many of these agencies so that they can complement the Nigerian police. But now, if we have a merger and there is massive recruitment and there is a sustained training and retraining of personnel, I'm sure the Nigerian police will bounce back and meet up with the challenges of our time.
All right. Let's pick calls. 0903-880-8883. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir. Who do you have on the line?
My name is Abdullah.
All right, man, Abdullah, make your comments.
You know, my own problem here is that I just want to make some suggestions regarding to the situation we are in this country, most especially about food. Correct?
Does it have anything to do with what we are discussing this morning? Let's just restrict ourselves to the issue we are discussing this Wednesday morning, talking about the Orosanya reports and its implication to the Nigerian economy. All right, thank you very much. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. My Ambassador gave the challenger.
All right.
From Fulani City.
Make your comment.
Good morning.
Morning.
You see, imagine ministries is a very welcome development too. At least it will cut the cost of running. It's a very welcome development. But please, I would like the federal government to look into this too. Their cost of governance, they should cut it too. I'm talking about their convoys, their security, and their aid. If really they mean it, they should cut it. And governors too, their convoys, their aid, the motors, the cars they buy, they should cut their cost of governance. It will help us a lot. So please, our leaders should fear God and step up and do the needful so that Nigerians will enjoy. We are looking up to them as a role model. They should do the needful.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabo, the challenger. And of course, we have this comment on our Facebook page coming from Umar Manta. He's saying, good morning. Morning, Umar Manta. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, I just want to make a suggestion for what is bothering me as regard as a Nigerian. Hello?
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 Go ahead.
Hello? All right. Please call back. 0903-880-8883 is the number to call in, of course, make your comments. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, how are you?
Fine, thank God. This is Brian calling from Tunga.
All right, Madam Prime, make your comment.
Making some ministry and describing some of them is a very good one. At least it will go a long way to help cut it down the cost of running those ministries. So just like Gavin said, the federal government should try and just like the what's it called, the convo and anything that concerns running government, they should cut it down so that we have money. Just like Dr. Gole said that Nigeria is broken. Yes, we agree that Nigeria is broke, but the cost of running government is just too high. They should cut those things down so they will have money to put in subsidy to help the poor in Nigeria. Please, they should cut all this run of government down. Please, that's my speech.
All right, thank you very much. Cutting the cost of governance is what he's advocating for. 0903-880-8883. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Hello.
Good morning,
Morning, sir. Who do you have on the line?
Yes, Usman Alhaji Muhammad.
All right,
good morning, doctor.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, doctor. Now that the federal is battling with plenty ministry agencies that are performing similar functions, the state doesn't look at the federal because I see that some state governments have increased the great new ministries and agencies. So, well, don't they know that it will cost to run that government? And you know the intention behind these things is just to satisfy their political loyalty and put everybody into trouble. Please, after the federal government on the state defense, they then reduce these ministries and agencies and cut the cost of governance down. And let's see if that will help us. That is my take-off.
All right, thank you very much. All right, 0903-880-8883 is the numbers calling. Of course, make your comments, or you can post your comments on our Facebook page, Prestige FM Mina. That is Prestige FM Mina. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Haji Amyomada.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Lantala.
Good morning, sir.
This is Ibrahim Adams calling from Okada.
No, no, Brian, make your comment.
I think I have this is a very nice discussion.
Thank you.
I think the whole essence is just about to maybe kind of reduce kind of what they call it
cost of government
function. So within this government, well, I think this is long overdue. But right now that this thing has come to stay, I think we need a renewed discussion, and we have to place more. I think we have to place more legislative work to most of these things, because if you look at it even right now, I look further where there will be a kind of central discussion on how to even review the constitution itself, so that to be able to ease for certain many things, maybe in the resource control and other these things, so that a lot of governors will be serious with governance. The luxurious lifestyle should also be cut away, and a situation whereby even the governors should be paid, maybe even with their allowances and everything should be raised to 500,000, so that let them feel what ordinary Nigerians are feeling. Because the luxurious lifestyle are making them not to think Nigerians are suffering. But once you have 500,000 as take-home, and you begin to do mathematics on it, then you begin to know that other people are feeling the same thing. So I think it is a welcome development, and this will reduce duplication of functions in the government. And but like I did over your newspaper review this morning by Inspector General of Police. Not the Inspector General of Police.
Ibrahim Gimba.
So that I think there is a lacuna in the additional report, but I have not laid my eyes on those lacuna. But I think it is a head one. It is a starting point, and we will look how to make appropriate decision when it comes there.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my Brian. Okay, some comments on our Facebook page. This one coming from Comrade Ahmed Ibrahim Agwara. He said it is a better idea to scrap some ministries that are not important, so that the government will move smooth and faster of running affairs. Thank you, Comrade Ahmed Ibrahim Agwara. Haruna Rashid Ibrahim Khalil, he is saying this report is an old idea that seems to be effective in the last decade, but the current situation of Nigeria's economy, at least new jobs opportunities need to be created to serve as a panacea, not scrapping them. This is my humble opinion. Thank you very much, Haruna Rashid Ibrahim Khalil. Yes, I am actually merging some ministries together as one umbrella is a welcome idea, because some of them are doing the same job. Thank you, Isa Emasali. Nura Sanda, this idea is very good, because some of these organizations are doing similar jobs. I hope this will reduce cost of government spending. Thank you, Nura Sanda, for that comment.
Yes, I think I want to respond to Haruna Khalil, who has the fear that this exercise is likely to make people to lose their jobs. No, nobody will lose his job. Only that staff of an agency that is being scrapped will be redeployed to other places to continue with their work. That is one. And it will also create room for employment of new people. You can imagine, for example, if the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps is brought under the police and probably even the Federal Road Safety Corps, it will give room for massive recruitment because it will mean that more functions will have to come under the Nigerian police, and hence they will require more number of staff. And that will mean for the government to match up the new challenge to recruit more number of staff. And it's the same way with other ministries that are likely to be merged and those that are likely to be created too. It is a whole exercise that will create room for new employment. And I feel there is no need for anybody to exercise any fear. And then another one is that when people talk about cutting the cost of running governance, a lot of people relate it to the motorcades of a government official, such as a minister or governor or even the president himself. That is not where the cost of governance is. The fact that a minister or a senator is riding on a car that is worth about 160 million or 200 million does not mean that is the cost of running a government. The cost of running a government, of course, is in the ESTA codes that all these public officials are enjoying or are benefiting anytime they are moving out of their offices. It will interest you to note that a minister who will move out of his office to take a tour to another place or ministry within the same city is entitled to certain allowances, known as the DTA. And if he is moving out of the country's capital to another state, he is also entitled to that DTA, including all the retinue of staff, the backroom staff that will go with him. So the cost of running governance is in that DTA, not the vehicles that we are seeing on the road. The vehicles that we are seeing on the road belong to the government official, the minister, the senator, all of that, and that money is being removed gradually from their monthly salaries. And that is why after 4 or 5 years, when they are going, they go with the car, because they may have paid at least 10% of that car. So that when they are going, they go with the car. So the cost of running governance is in the allowances that they are being paid, not in the motors, not in the vehicles that they use when they are moving from one place to another. The vehicles that they are using, they use that vehicles for the next 4 years. And as they are moving with the vehicles, they are also paying, because the money of that vehicle is removed from their salaries on monthly basis until they are able to pay it. So the allowances that they are earning, for example, a minister who is taking a tour in Abuja, for example, is entitled to an ESTA code. And that ESTA code will come into hundreds of thousands, or sometimes even into 1 million, because he's moving from his office to another office, and he's been paid the DTA. He is moving from his office to another state to go and supervise a work. He's been paid. And you can imagine the minister and then the retinue of directors under his ministries and the staff that are related to that work too will all enjoy that DTA. And that DTA run into hundreds of thousands. So that is where the cost of governance is, not in the motorcades.
All right.
If only this DTA can be reduced to the barest, I think it will do us a lot of good. No minister will receive less than 1 million naira if he is moving from Abuja to Port Harcourt, for example, or to Lagos, or to Kano to supervise a work. Because his DTA is much more than 1 million naira. So you can imagine, just for him to go and supervise a work in another state, he's been paid this amount of money. So it is in that DTA that the cost of running governance is, not in the vehicles that they are using.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Antala Aliu. And this is about the size of the program, Nigeria Today. You can join us tomorrow for a fresh package of the program. On behalf of the DC on duty, talking about Ibrahim Gimba and, of course, Stephen Jia. My name is Maimuna Muhammad Babangida, saying good morning.